Guys, NHL opening face-off time. So favorite DFS plays on tonight's short 3-game slate. Just 3 games. So favorite DFS play at center. Jeff, who are you going with?
With Jack Hughes. Everyone's paying up for McKinnon tonight. It's a 3-game slate. Nathan McKinnon is probably going to score a hat trick at some point. I'll let the other guys talk about Nathan McKinnon. I'm going to talk about Jack Hughes. 6,300. This is a player who's really started to come into his own of late. He's averaging 4 shots on goal over his last 10 games. So the shot rate has really been there for Jack Hughes. 13 points in his last 10 games as well. I mean, this is stuff we can all look up easily, but I mean, I think the biggest thing is the Devils really weak defensively right now, and they're getting into a lot of shootouts, and they've got the Arizona Cardinals on the slate here. So, Jack Hughes has gone through a little bit of injury issues this year. Is a little bit disappointing start, but it's really starting to pick up for him. He's up to a point per game now on the year, and as you can still get him for well under 7K, but he's starting to produce more like those elites. I like Jack Hughes tonight. He's still really good value.
AJ, are you going to talk about Nathan McKinnon?
Yeah, I will, but I'll start by saying I think Jeff's definitely onto something here in terms of other options out there with Hughes and the Devils in particular. They're a team that I do like tonight as well. But as Jeff said, like paying up for McKinnon is hard to avoid right now. The Avs in January are averaging 4.33 goals per game in their 6 contests. And the matchup with Anaheim is not going to stop that anytime soon. They're probably going to put in a bunch of goals on them. So you start by getting McKinnon in at 8,800. As Jeff alluded to, he's got 4 multi-point games in his last 10. He's only been held off the score sheet in 2 of those contests. I know it's a big price tag, and so you got to find maybe a bottom guy like Hughes to kind of balance out the lineup. But I do think you look at McKinnon tonight for sure.
All right, Paul, who are you going with at center?
Well, my partners are onto something here, but I'm going to talk about all kinds of options. McKinnon, most expensive center, $8,800, gets a matchup against an Anaheim club that's been swamped with 21 goals against his last 5 games. That's the compelling case. Makes more sense, though, to be playing him in DFS than Austin Matthews, I will say, although Austin Matthews is going for an NHL record for most consecutive games with goals on the road. He's going to cost $8,300, but a tough matchup at MSG. Makes more sense for me to save on these guys and choose Nazem Kadri, in fact, for $7,600. He's enjoying a career best season and comes into this game with 12 points in his last 10 outings. And if you're going for a cheaper play, I like the New Jersey Devils too, but nobody's talked about Nico Hischier for $4,300, despite the fact he has a home date against the second worst club in the league in Arizona Coyotes, not Cardinals, Jeff. Hischier has 9 points in his last 10 games.
All right, how about your favorite DFS play at wing, AJ?
Well, I'm going to double down here with the Avs and stick with them and get in both Landeskog at 7,100 and Rantanen at 7,800. This offense is just generating too much goals not to get on board with their top line here. It's too good to skip on, and I really think you have to look at getting as many shares as you can of that top group and the number 1 power play and really stack that long.
All right, Paul, how about you, dude?
On a small scale of games tonight, that makes a lot of sense. But Willie Nylander also deserves a look. $7,100 for him. He's enjoying a career best campaign, second on the leagues in points with a point per game in 36 outings. Has some of his best performances against the Rangers. I know that for a fact. And Toronto boasts one of the top offenses in the league and is well rested entering play tonight against one of the league's better teams, and they're one of the top teams on the road as well. Another Leaf, Mitch Marner's priced at only $5,500, the lowest I can remember for a guy who's been among the top 10 scorers in the league over the last 2 years, so that's a bargain. In the same game, though, Chris Kreider on the other side has quietly moved up among the top NHL goal scorers in the league with 24 tallies so far. He leads the Rangers by a wide margin, has 7 goals in his last 10 games, and he's priced at a reasonable $5,900 tonight.
Jeff, take us to the wings and things department. Who stands out to you?
I will do that, sir. And I mean, much like center, there's some really good value here as well. You want a piece of the Avalanche top line. AJ's right, but there's ways to fit them in, and there's some really, really like high-end values here too that you can build around. Clayton Keller is probably my favorite at 5,700. I mean, this is a player that, I mean, he's looked good in spurts, but it looks like he's finally starting to put together, much like Jack Hughes. 4.7 shots on goal over his last 10 games. He's averaged, you throw in a few block shots in there. He's just really producing. He's got 5 games with 20 or more DK fantasy points over his last 10 games as well, 12 points over that same span. And I mean, this is a great game for fantasy purposes. I know it's the Arizona Coyotes, not Cardinals, and like their offense is very hit or miss, but they're going up against the Devils team. They've just been decimated on the defensively. They don't have good goaltending. This is really good fantasy environment on both sides, and I think much like Jack Hughes, Clayton Keller is still underpriced because he's producing right now like an elite winger.
All right, let's move to the blue line. Favorite DFS play at defense, Paul?
Look, Morgan Riley factors in as the busiest of Leaf players in terms of average ice time, and he's been on a roll lately. 13 points his last 10 games played. Consider he's only $5,900 when Cale Makar is costing $7,000, and he's got 12 points in the last 10 games. Devin Taves is scoring at better than a point per game for Colorado, but nobody's talking about him because of his teammate Cale Makar. Taves cost $5,600 tonight. And finally, Arizona's Shane Gostisbehere is an intriguing option for me. If you want to fade the top guys at this position, he has rediscovered his top offensive form this season, has 7 points his last 10 games, driving the Coyotes offense, and he costs only $5,300 for his match against his opponents tonight.
All right, Jeff, where are you going?
I think as vital as it is to pay up for Nathan MacKinnon tonight, it's probably just as vital to pay up for Cale Makar. Again, like you've got guys like Chychrun and Fox, are good plays, but I mean, no one's matching Cale Maker's potential right now in goal scoring. Obviously, still on pace for over 30 goals on the season. Shots on goal plus blocked on shots, obviously going up as well. And just like point producing, again, no one really matching him. So I think the big question is, who do you fit in value-wise with Makar? And I think Ryan Graves of the New Jersey Devils is a really good option. This is a player who's right now he's averaging 4.4 block shots and shots on goal per game over his last 10 starts. The minutes have really gone up for him too, as the Devils defense has gotten decimated, well over 20 minutes in his last 5 games. So, you add in a really good matchup against the Coyotes. We've seen Graves produce some points in the past. I mean, I think at 4,700, he's a really good guy to pair with Cale Makar if that is who you choose to pay up for, which you should.
All right, AJ, who do you like on the blue line?
Well, I like Jeff's strategy of high and low, but I'm going to switch the players around here. I'm going to start with Adam Fox at the top. I just think he's been too good of late. Yeah, he doesn't have the same goals as Makar, but you can get him in there slightly cheaper. He's got 14 assists in the last 16 games. I like the Rangers tonight at home. I think they've been playing really well. I know Paul's going to hate to hear that. And then on the flip side, when you do try and find that value, you can do it without having to give up completely on Colorado and go Samuel Girard tonight at 3,800. He's getting plenty of minutes, both 5-on-5 and with the power play. Yes, he's with the second unit and not the top one, but I think it allows you to get a little bit more of Colorado without having to pay up at the very top of the price range, and you can go with Fox instead.
Hey, Jeff, do that thing we like and give us your favorite value play on this small slate.
Okay, I'll do that thing. I mean, we have to look at the New Jersey Devils here. I mean, it's just they have to be the spot. I don't know why some of these forwards are so cheap. My favorite, I mean, I talked about Jack Hughes, but I think pairing Jack Hughes with Pavel Zacha here makes a ton of sense. Zacha's 3,400. I mean, we've seen him as high like in the 5Ks this year. And yeah, he's going through a bit of a scoreless drought, but this is a player who will just show up with 5 shots on goal and a couple points, on a random night. And I mean, this isn't a random night either. We've got a really good matchup against the Arizona Coyotes. So I think Pavel Zacha at 3,400, like you pair him with Hughes. I mean, there's as much upside with that duo on the slate, anywhere on the slate really, outside of maybe like, McKinnon's line. So really liking that. And I think you can even go to the other side of this game and target some cheap Arizona Coyotes. I'm not sure if you really need to do that though on this slate. I just think you take the New Jersey Devils forwards. Someone brought up Hersher as well. So I like Zacha. He's my favorite value here. I think for GPPs, pairing him and Hughes, there's just plenty of upside with really good price.
All right, AJ, where are you going for value?
Well, I don't think a lot of people are going to necessarily agree with me and be on the Rangers tonight in that matchup with the Leafs. So I think you can get Capo Caco at just 3K tonight. He's set to play on the first line for the Blue Shirts. Comes in then as a bit of a contrarian play. And look, the goals are still not quite there, but he's been showing some signs of life of late with 3 helpers in his last 5 games. And so I think you can start getting again, that contrarian play for a cheap guy in a top 6 role, first line role, in fact, without having to break the bank in Kakko.
All right, Paul, bring us home.
There are value plays in each of the games tonight for me. Andre Burakovsky's thrived as Nazem Kadri's winger for much of this season, and he's on a very nice career best pace for 31 points in 34 games played. He's priced at only $4,800 despite this second line opportunity, and 11 points in his last 10 games. Michael Bunting has a pretty nice assignment in Toronto too these days. He's priced at $4,600, gets to play with Matthews and Marner now that Mitch is back in the lineup, and that's good news for his ownership. I don't think it'll be very high. And then Lawson Krause, talk about low ownership possibility. He's on a pretty nice tear in Arizona with 8 points in his last 10 games. He's playing alongside Phil Kessel, one of my favorites. AJ knows that.
All right, let's wrap things up with your favorite NHL bet on the DK Sportsbook tonight. AJ, where are you going?
Well, I'm going to go right at it with Paul here. I'm sure he'll be on the opposite side, but I'm simply going to take the Rangers here on the money line at plus 140. They're playing at home. Shesterkin's the presumptive starter right now. He's riding a 4-game winning streak that includes a pair of shutouts. So plus 140 value. I think it's a great spot to take the Rangers tonight.
All right, favorite NHL bet, Paul?
I'm on the other side of that game. I won't bore you. That's no surprise. I also go to the alternate total goals prop for the Colorado-Arizona game and say, go big here. Instead of the minus 125 for the over 6 goals, I say go to 7.5 and take the bigger payout. I also mentioned Willie Nylander's numbers and his play against New York Rangers over the years, and his tendency to play well there will be a factor in him scoring tonight and paying off on that 170 prop for his goal. And on the other side of the ice, Artemi Panarin, like Marner, has been among the league's top point getters over the last couple of seasons, not having that big an offensive year so far, but I'd still like him to score tonight and pay on his plus 230 prop.
All right, Jeff, favorite bet?
Yeah, look, this is all about one game for me. You have to target the Colorado Avalanche here. Paul kind of mentioned it, and I do like that idea going to the alternate total. I'm not sure why there's a 6 handle on this game, though. Look, the Anaheim Ducks, 2 goalies coming off COVID, half their forwards banged up. I mean, I think Colorado's a very good shot of getting to 7 goals themselves here. Go to the Avalanche alternate team total under the team props. Go over 4.5 goals for the Colorado Avalanche. That's a plus 175. That's juicy. But I think Paul is right. You can take the over on the goals in this game as well. And look, you can just bet the Colorado Avalanche on the puck line at minus 1.5. It's still minus 105. You're getting good value there. Again, Ducks, very beat up. Half their top line is out. Their goalie's coming off COVID. Oh, it's going to get ugly tonight.